In my case, the symptoms of myasthenia came on really quickly. I happened to be sitting watching a friend of mine give a lecture for about an hour, and halfway through, I started realizing that I couldn't really focus on the words that were up on the screen, and I started to feel pretty tired because when your eyes get strained, you start feeling kind of tired, and I felt a little bit nauseous, but it had been a long couple of days, and I'd been up late the night before, and so I didn't really think anything of it. After the lecture, I happened to have to go to hockey practice, and I can remember looking up at the scoreboard and seeing two clocks, and then seeing two of everything, like two sticks, two pucks, two players, and so I started compensating by closing one of my eyes. So the first symptoms that showed up is that my eyes started drifting apart and not focusing on the same point in the vision, and so instead of seeing one object, my eyes were basically seeing two, and then my brain was processing it as having double vision. So I was seeing two of everything kind of stacked on top of each other like my hands. By the time I got home, I had persistent double vision, so that was only over a couple of hours. And by the next morning, one of my eyes had started to droop. So the eyelid here was about a quarter of the way down, and I could not open it again. By the end of the day, it was most of the way down. So over the course of about one day, I went from being totally normal to having double vision and one of my eyes persistently shutting. So the very next day I went down to see a specialist because I went to the local doctor and he saw my droopy eye and immediately sent me to somebody who specializes in MS. And MS, multiple sclerosis, is a disease that can show up in midlife and have your eyes droop, and it's a symptom like that. So they immediately went and did a CAT scan of my brain, and none of the symptoms for MS were present. So they ruled that out. And then they started to systematically go through all the things that could have caused my eye to droop. It took a long time to come up with a diagnosis, and in the end, they never really were quite sure what happened to me. They tested my thymus, because one of the things that can happen is your thymus can become enlarged, and a solution for the symptom is to simply go in and surgically remove your thymus. So I had that looked at, and I did not have an enlarged thymus, so they didn't bother taking it out. They did many MRIs on my brain, looking specifically for brain injuries, because other reasons you can have an eye droop would be like a major concussion or a small stroke or things like that. And so they looked into my brain with MRIs and CAT scans, and nothing showed up. And it was very slow, because when you're working on a disease like myasthenia, any small change in your body chemistry takes a long time to work its way through the system. And so one of the frustrating things about trying to get a diagnosis is that nothing is immediate. They diagnose you and it goes slowly, and they try drugs and that goes slowly, and it really takes a long time. So for myasthenia gravis, there is no real cure. All that doctors try to do is treat symptoms. They diagnosed me with myasthenia, ocular myasthenia, but nobody was really ever sure. I never got a clear diagnosis of what was wrong with me. But in the end, the doctors that I was seeing gave me very small doses of a steroid called prednisone, which your body produces and regulates all sorts of things in your body, including anger and mood and things like that. So I was on a very, very small dose, and within 2 days I was almost better, and within a week I was fully better. And what was very interesting to the doctor is that he had expected me to have only moderate improvement in a month. And so the fact that I got cured completely in a week was extremely surprising.